This is lies after lies and lies. I do not use crack cocaine.
Mine here, mine.
Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine. I'm the first one to admit I am not perfect.
Whenever you're assigned to do a Rob Ford story, you knew to expect the unexpected because you never knew what was going to happen. Every day the story changed. Every day there was something different, to the point where it became so unbelievable that even the most insane twist and turn in the story just became par for the course.
What, if any drugs you've ever used in the past?
If the police are going to release the video, I want everyone to see it. I've said that before.
Are you saying the OPP won't find anything, Mayor Ford?
Thank you. Please just let me get to my office.
It was as close to being a football player or getting into close combat as reporters probably ever will in the city covering a story, especially a political story. There were times where I couldn't even see the mayor in the scrums, and that my arm was just basically extended through to get the microphone in, and I had to twist my body in such a way that I could fit through all of the cameras and the reporters that were there. There was a lot of times where we thought we should just back off the story and just leave Ford alone, give him his space. Sure, we had to cover it because it's not often that the mayor of the largest city in Canada goes into rehab, but then the times we would step back,
What production company are you with?
suddenly another media outlet may report something, or Ford himself would go to the media and put something out there. It was a tricky situation because we were dealing with our own decision-making process in the newsroom. Should we cover this? Is this important enough? Is this in the public interest?
Please welcome Mayor Rob Ford.
This was what people were talking about. We couldn't simply ignore it. It was a press release from the hospital that was only about 2 or 3 sentences saying Rob Ford has checked in.
And there has been a lot of speculation today, everyone trying to figure out just how serious this is.
I think everyone's first inclination was, does this have to do with drugs or alcohol? And then we heard it was for abdominal pain. And then we realized perhaps this is taking yet another twist and turn in the story.
Mayor Ford has a pleomorphic liposarcoma, which is very rare, just makes up 1% of all cancers.
Every day we would be standing in front of the office or even in front of the hospital later in the year thinking, how have we gotten to this point and where could we go from here?
I answered all the questions. I say, yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Just on a regular day, he would be an interesting person. And I remember when I first started covering City Hall about 7 or 8 years ago, one of my predecessors said to me, whenever Rob Ford gets up in council, always make sure your camera's rolling because you never know what he's going to say.
When we return, the nation mourns and the world remembers. More reflections from our reporters on Backstory 2014.
We have expert insight into the search for that missing airliner. There's growing resistance to Bill Cosby's Canadian gigs, and Bob McDonald looks back at an amazing year in science tonight on The National.
Shake off the winter blast. See the world's greatest comedians bring down the house. Boom. Tuesday, Jim Gaffigan.
I can't tell by my beard, but I'm fat.
Just relax. Tuesday at 9 on CBC.
his only son. The CBC's Brigitte Noel was one of the reporters who spoke with Lin today.
In just 2 months, my hair became white.
Part of the physical toll of months of anguish. A son brutally murdered in a country 10,000 kilometers from home. The crimes of Luca Magnotta were some of the most sensational in Canadian history. Last week, after nearly 3 months in court, a jury found Magnotta guilty of all charges, including first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life behind bars. It's a verdict that brought a small bit of comfort to a family still in shock.
I told them he got the highest penalty, and I'm very happy about this.
But he says the pain of Junlin's loss will forever linger. Back home in China, his wife has become too sick to work, and their daughter has left her job to care for her.
Losing son means lose everything to me.
Junlin himself is also unemployed. He quit work to come to Canada for trial. A difficult experience, he says, was made bearable by the kindness of strangers.
Some warm-hearted people just hug me and want to comfort me.
When asked if he could ever forgive his son's killer, Junlin says no, but he still hopes one day to meet Magnotta.
But I just want to ask him why he did this.
Tomorrow would have been Junlin's 36th birthday. To mark the occasion, Junlin plans to visit the Montreal cemetery where his son is buried. He plans on heading back home to China in January. Brigitte Noel, CBC News, Montreal.
Journalists protested in front of the Egyptian embassies in some European cities today, marking 1 year since the arrests of 3 Al Jazeera journalists. Egyptian-Canadian Mohammed Fahmy and 2 other men were convicted on terror-related charges. Their trial earlier this year caused international outrage. But as Thomas Daigle tells us, there is hope the case will be reopened later this week.
A silent protest outside the Egyptian embassy in London. Journalists doing what they say Egypt is forcing 3 of their colleagues to do: stay quiet.
And all year people have said, oh, they'll be out soon, they'll be out soon. Well, they're not. They're still in prison.
The 3 Al Jazeera journalists were arrested while covering government protests in Cairo. They were accused and convicted of undermining Egypt's security and supporting the outlawed Muslim Brotherhood.
Al Jazeera journalists have been convicted and jailed.
Chilling and draconian sentence.
A year later, the international news network is still airing messages every day to show world leaders don't buy Egypt's spin.
The fact that the Al Jazeera 3 were detained for committing journalism is something that goes against everything that we believe in.
Again today, journalists around the world used social media asking Egypt to free the Al Jazeera 3, as they've become known. In Brisbane, artists put up a mural of Australian journalist Peter Gresta as his brothers made another plea for his freedom.
He's a remarkably tough guy, but again, it's been a long 12 months, and the conditions haven't been all that easy to endure.
Egyptian-Canadian Mohammed Fahmy last week made his request directly to Prime Minister Harper.
I'm a desperate Canadian citizen that needs the government to stand by me as much as they can.
But despite pressure from Canada and elsewhere, Egypt's president says he won't intervene. Ever since Abdel Fattah el-Sisi took office, tensions have grown between his country and Qatar, which supported the Muslim Brotherhood and where Al Jazeera is based.
We should be taken as a professional media institution, not as a part of any political or ideological or any other establishment.
There are signs of a possible thaw in relations, and last week Al Jazeera offered to shut down its Egypt channel. But that has not helped these men. The 3 journalists seem caught in the middle of the dispute between the 2 countries. On Thursday, they'll be back in an Egyptian court hoping to have their case thrown out. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, London.
Bill Cosby is scheduled to make appearances in 3 Ontario cities early next month, but in the wake of sexual assault accusations from more than 24 women, many are saying the comedian's Canadian appearances should be cancelled. Havard Gould has the latest.
In a business